The annual corporate convention was supposed to be routine, suits, speeches, and polished presentations. But for Daniel Carter, CEO of one of the country's largest restaurant chains, this year felt different. He'd spent years at the top, signing papers, approving budgets, and strategizing expansions. But something gnawed at him. Whispers of employee mistreatment, declining morale, and questionable management practices had reached his ears. His board assured him it was just noise, but Daniel wasn't so sure. He needed to see for himself. So he made a decision, one that would change everything. Undercover. Ditching his designer suit for a simple uniform, Daniel became Mike, a new hire at one of his own restaurants. What he uncovered sent chills down his spine. The first thing he noticed was the air of exhaustion. Employees moved like machines, their smiles forced, their voices tight. Managers barked orders, cutting corners wherever possible. But one person stood out, Sarah. She worked harder than anyone, scrubbing, serving, and smiling through it all. 5 years at the restaurant, and yet she still barely made ends meet while taking care of her sick mother. Daniel watched, troubled. His company was supposed to value its people. So why did it feel like the opposite? Then came the moment that changed everything. A small boy sat alone in the corner, fidgeting with his empty tray. His clothes were neat but slightly worn. He looked hungry. Sarah hesitated before quickly bringing him a hot meal, placing it down with a reassuring smile. The boy's eyes lit up. "It's on me," Sarah whispered, patting his head before walking away. Daniel felt something stir inside him, admiration, but also deep concern. It was a simple act of kindness, and yet seconds later, Sarah was in trouble. "Sarah!" The manager stormed over. "Did you just give away free food? That comes out of your paycheck. You know the rules." Sarah's face fell. She opened her mouth, but no words came. Daniel clenched his fists. Something wasn't right. The next day, Daniel returned, not as Mike, but as himself. When he walked through the doors in his CEO suit, the room fell silent. Employees froze. The manager's face turned pale. But Sarah, she went rigid, confusion and fear flashing in her eyes. "Sarah," Daniel said, his voice calm but firm, "I need to speak with you. Now." She hesitated, then followed him into the office. Sarah sat stiffly across from him, hands gripping her apron. "Am I being fired?" Daniel studied her, then slid something across the table. A check. "That boy you helped? He's my son. He was lost that night. And you showed him kindness when no one else did." Sarah gasped, covering her mouth. "I can't ignore what I saw," Daniel continued. "You deserve more. So I'm not only promoting you, I'm covering your mother's medical bills and giving you a $50,000 bonus." Tears welled in Sarah's eyes. I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Daniel said with a small smile. The moment felt perfect, a happy ending. But then, a loud crash echoed from the front of the restaurant. Daniel and Sarah jumped, yelling, panic. Daniel rushed to the door, only to freeze at what he saw. Two men in suits stood near the entrance, their presence heavy, authoritative. One held a file, the other a phone to his ear. The manager looked terrified. Employees murmured in confusion. Then the man with the file locked eyes with Daniel and spoke 4 chilling words. "Mr. Carter, we need to talk." The tension in the room was suffocating. Employees stood frozen, their eyes darting between Daniel and the two men in suits. Sarah's breath hitched beside him. The manager swallowed hard, sweat forming at his temple. Daniel straightened, masking the unease bubbling in his gut. "And who exactly are you?" The man with the file stepped forward. "Federal Bureau of Investigation." He flipped open a badge. "Agent Reynolds, this is Agent Park." Sarah stiffened. The manager's face turned an impossible shade of white. Daniel kept his expression neutral. "And what business does the FBI have in my restaurant?" Reynolds didn't flinch. "Not here, we need to talk. Now!" Daniel cast a glance at Sarah. "Give me a moment." Then to Reynolds. "Fine. Let's talk." The agents led him into the back office, the door clicking shut behind them. "Mind explaining what this is about?" Daniel asked coolly. Reynolds dropped the file onto the desk. We've been investigating a string of fraud cases linked to major corporate chains. He tapped the folder. Money laundering, embezzlement. Your company's name keeps showing up. Daniel's stomach nodded. That's ridiculous. Is it? Park finally spoke, his tone sharp. Millions of dollars have been rerouted through offshore accounts, multiple shell companies, and the signatures authorizing those transfers? He flipped open the file, revealing documents. Daniel's name scrawled at the bottom of each. Daniel's jaw clenched. He knew these weren't his doing. This is a setup. Reynolds folded his arms. Maybe. Maybe not. Either way, someone inside your company is making you their scapegoat. Daniel leaned forward. Who? The agents exchanged a glance. Reynolds sighed. That's what we're here to find out. Daniel's mind raced. If someone inside his own corporation was moving money under his name, it meant two things. He had an enemy close, and they were dangerous. I want full access to whatever you have, he said. I need to know who's behind this. Park scoffed. You're a CEO, not an investigator. Reynolds, however, studied Daniel for a long moment before nodding. We'll be in touch. As they turned to leave, Reynolds paused at the door. Be careful, Mr. Carter. If someone's framing you, they won't stop now. Daniel exhaled sharply as the agents disappeared. He wasn't just fighting for his company anymore. He was fighting for his own name. Stepping out of the office, Daniel's eyes immediately landed on Sarah. She was watching him intently, concern etched in every line of her face. What was that about? She asked quietly. Daniel hesitated. He barely knew Sarah, but something told him he could trust her. Trouble. She frowned. Well, what kind of trouble? Before he could answer, his phone buzzed. Unknown. Number. You should have left this alone. Daniel's blood ran cold. He turned, scanning the restaurant. Employees worked, customers ate. Everything looked normal, but someone was watching, someone who didn't want him digging. Then another message came through. Unknown number. Now it's too late. And then the lights cut out. The restaurant plunged into darkness. A single scream rang out, and just like that, chaos erupted. The restaurant was swallowed in darkness. Shouts of confusion echoed through the space. Dishes crashed, chairs scraped against the floor. Daniel's pulse thundered in his ears. He grabbed Sarah's wrist. Stay close. The emergency lights flickered on, dim and weak, casting eerie shadows over the restaurant. A panicked employee stumbled past them. Customers murmured in confusion. The manager barked orders, but the unease was already spreading like wildfire. Then Daniel's phone buzzed again. Unknown number. You should have walked away. His grip tightened around the phone. This wasn't just a power outage. It was a message. Sarah leaned in, eyes darting across the restaurant. This isn't normal. Daniel's gaze swept the room. A figure moved near the back exit, a man in a dark hoodie slipping out the door. He made a decision in an instant. Stay here. Wait! But he was already moving, pushing through the chaos, shoving the exit door open. The alley was damp and deserted. A single streetlight flickered overhead. The figure was gone. Daniel exhaled sharply. His phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Too slow. His jaw clenched. Whoever this was, they were watching him. Back inside, Sarah was waiting. Who was that? Daniel showed her the messages. She paled. Whoever they are, they're serious. The manager approached, his face drawn. Mr. Carter, we found something. He led them to the back office. A laptop screen was open. Security footage frozen on a single frame. Daniel stepped closer. His blood turned to ice. The footage showed someone in the accounting office the night before, pulling files, scanning documents. The timestamp was hours after closing, and the person on the screen, it was someone Daniel trusted. Impossible, Sarah whispered. Daniel's mind raced. If the footage was real, then the enemy wasn't just an outsider. It was someone on the inside, someone close enough to destroy him from within. His phone buzzed again. Unknown number. You're getting warmer. Before he could react, a loud crash came from the front of the restaurant. They sprinted back just in time to see a black SUV peeling away from the curb, tires screeching. Something small and metallic rolled to a stop in the middle of the floor. A burner phone. It lit up with a final message. Unknown number. You won't survive what's coming. And then before Daniel could even take a breath, the phone exploded. The explosion rocked the restaurant. Shattered glass flew. The blast knocked Daniel and Sarah backward. Ears ringing, vision blurred, Daniel struggled to push himself up. The burner phone was gone. Nothing left but a scorched black mark on the floor. Sarah coughed, shaking. Are you okay? Daniel barely nodded. His instincts screamed danger. This wasn't just a warning anymore. It was war. Sirens wailed in the distance. The restaurant was chaos. Employees and customers scrambling. The manager shouting for order. Daniel's mind worked fast. The explosion wasn't meant to kill. It was meant to send a message. Whoever was behind this wanted him rattled. Wanted him scared. Too bad for them. He was done being scared. Sarah grabbed his arm. We need to leave. Now. The way she said it, urgency, fear, Daniel's gut twisted. Why? What aren't you telling me? Sarah hesitated, then, they're not just watching you. They're watching everyone close to you. Daniel's blood ran cold. Outside, a sleek black car idled at the curb. Tinted windows, no plates. Sarah yanked Daniel toward it. Get in. He hesitated. Whose car is this? No time to explain, she snapped. Unless you want to be the next target. The urgency in her voice overrode his doubts. He slid into the passenger seat. Sarah floored the gas. The car roared forward. Daniel gripped the door handle. Start talking. Sarah's knuckles were white on the wheel. I've been looking into the restaurant's financials. Someone's been funneling money. Lots of it. Offshore accounts, fake vendors. But the moment I got too close, she exhaled. That's when the threats started. Daniel stared at her. You should have told me. I didn't know who to trust. The words hit harder than they should have. Sarah swerved onto a side street, taking a back route through the city. I traced one of the offshore accounts. Daniel leaned forward. And? Sarah's jaw tightened. The name on it? It's someone we both know. She pulled a file from her bag, tossing it onto his lap. Daniel flipped it open. His pulse pounded as he read the name. It was someone inside the company, someone high up. Betrayal sliced through him like a blade. Before he could process it, headlights flooded the rearview mirror. A black SUV, coming fast. Hold on, Sarah warned. Tires screeched as the SUV rammed into their back bumper. The car lurched forward. Daniel gritted his teeth. Another hit. Harder. Sarah yanked the wheel. They're trying to run us off the road. Daniel turned, catching a glimpse of the driver. His stomach dropped. He knew that face. It wasn't a stranger. It was someone who was supposed to be on their side. The SUV surged forward for one final hit. The impact sent the car spinning. Tires screeched. Metal crunched. Sarah fought the wheel, but the SUV rammed them again. Harder. Daniel braced himself. Sarah! The car slammed sideways into a guardrail, teetering over the edge of a steep embankment. The SUV screeched to a halt behind them, headlights glaring like predators' eyes. A figure stepped out. Calm. Unrushed. Daniel's stomach twisted. He knew that face. It was James Porter, the company's COO. A man he trusted. Porter adjusted his suit jacket like he wasn't standing in the middle of an attempted murder. I warned you, Daniel. His voice was smooth, controlled. You should have walked away. Daniel's fist clenched. So it was you. Porter smirked. Did you really think a business like ours could be this successful without a little creative accounting? He shrugged. You weren't supposed to find out. Sarah's breath was shaky. People died because of this. Porter sighed. Collateral damage. Nothing personal. He gestured to the edge of the embankment. But this is personal? Daniel's eyes flicked to the SUV. More figures emerged, armed. He had seconds to act. Porter reached into his coat. A gun. Daniel lunged, fast. He knocked Porter's arm up just as the gun fired. The shot went wide. Chaos erupted. Sarah kicked open her door and dove for cover. One of Porter's men swung a fist. Daniel ducked, countered with a brutal punch to the ribs. Another grabbed him from behind. He twisted free. Sarah yanked a fire extinguisher from the back seat. Sprayed. White foam engulfed the gunman. "Run!" she shouted. Daniel grabbed Porter, slamming him against the SUV. "Call them off!" Porter sneered. "You don't have the guts!" Daniel pulled out his phone. "Maybe not, but I recorded every word you just said." Porter's face paled. Sirens howled in the distance. "Looks like someone tipped off the cops," Sarah said, tossing Daniel a knowing glance. Porter's men hesitated, then bolted. Porter growled, "This isn't over." Daniel leaned in. "Yeah, it is." The cops swarmed in, guns drawn. Porter barely had time to protest before he was shoved into cuffs. Sarah exhaled, shaky but relieved. "It's over." Daniel nodded. "Almost." He pulled up the offshore accounts on his phone. With one final tap, the money Porter had stolen transferred back to the company. Days later, Daniel stood in the restaurant, repaired, thriving. The corruption? Gone. Sarah nudged him. "So, back to being the undercover boss?" Daniel chuckled. "Maybe. But next time, let's keep the explosions to a minimum." She smirked. "No promises." As they watched the restaurant bustle with life, Daniel knew one thing for sure. He hadn't just saved a business. He'd saved the people who made it worth fighting for. Enjoyed the action, twists, and high-stakes drama? There's more where that came from. Subscribe now for more gripping stories filled with betrayal, suspense, and unexpected turns. Don't miss what's coming next. Stay tuned. Shockers subscribe.